All right, so today we're going to dig into the history of one single place to see what it can tell us about a much bigger story. And that place, it's called Elsburg.
It's a pretty wild question when you think about it, right? Can the story of one tiny dot on the map, I mean, a place you've probably never even heard of, can it really hold the secrets to the epic forces that shaped a whole nation? Well, let's find out.
And that's not just some dramatic tagline. I mean it, literally. Elsburg's whole reason for being is tangled up in two of the most powerful forces you can imagine in South African history. A brutal war and, well, the discovery of the richest gold fields the world had ever seen. Okay, so let's rewind. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning to really get how this pretty unique settlement came to be.
First things first, you gotta understand the ground we're talking about. The Witwatersrand. It means ridge of white waters in Afrikaans, and it's this absolutely incredible geological feature. So when gold was discovered here in 1886, everything changed. It set off this total frenzy that turned quiet, sleepy farmland into the economic engine of a nation, pretty much overnight. This is the bedrock, literally, of our entire story.
Okay, so check out this timeline. It really shows you how these huge national events were woven together with what was happening locally. You've got the gold rush kicking off in '86. And boom, just 1 year later, this specific farm, it's called Klippoortjie, is already being carved up. But here's the interesting part. Notice how it takes until after the South African War ends in 1902 for the town to finally officially be proclaimed in 1908. It needed that final piece of the puzzle. And this is where it all clicks into place. This is where the town gets its name, Elsburg, and its whole personality. The farm's owner was a guy named Commandant J.M. Els. And what he did was he divided up his land for his old soldiers, the burghers, who were coming back from the war with absolutely nothing. So right from the start, this place wasn't just built out of necessity. It was born from a commander's loyalty to his men. And that planted the seeds for a really tight-knit Afrikaans-speaking community right from day one.
So, the question is, how does a cluster of little farms for ex-soldiers turn into a real town, with its own identity? Let's dig into that.
Well, Elsburg's journey was actually pretty typical for small South African towns back then. You can see it happen in stages. First, you get a health committee. The basics. Gotta manage sanitation and stuff. Then, as the town grows, you level up to a village council for more official governance. And then the big one. In 1957, it becomes a full municipality. It's like watching a town grow up, step by step, and learn to run itself.
And you can really see the cultural identity that took root here just by looking at the language. I mean, check this out. Even in the 2011 census, 2/3 of the people living there spoke Afrikaans as their first language. That's a direct echo, a straight line back to its founding as a place for Afrikaner burghers. That legacy just shaped everything about the town's social fabric.
And these were the real cornerstones, the things that held the community together. Your whole life would revolve around the Dutch Reformed Church, the local schools, the little shops and social clubs that people built for themselves. It was just one of those really tight-knit communities, all defined by these shared places and, of course, a shared language.
And this isn't just some dusty, anonymous history. Real people, important people came from here. For instance, the celebrated novelist Peter Abrahams actually spent part of his childhood in Elsburg. It's just a great reminder that these little towns, they're the backdrop for lives that would go on to have a huge national impact.
But here's the thing. Elsburg didn't exist in a bubble. It was always living in the shadow of this massive industrial giant growing right next door, the whole Witwatersrand complex. And their relationship becomes super clear when you see what Elsburg's job was. See, it was never a big mining center on its own. Nope. Instead, it became what you'd call a residential satellite, or a dormitory town. It had that small town feel, but its main purpose was to provide homes for all the people working in the mines and factories of that massive hub all around it.
And get this, the town's connection to the economy runs deep. I mean, literally deep into the earth. Geologists actually call specific gold-bearing rock layers the Upper Elsburg Reefs. Just think about that for a second. The town's name isn't just on a map. It's imprinted on the actual geology, the rocks that created the entire nation's wealth. That's wild. Okay, so let's tie all of this together. What does Elsburg's story really tell us today, looking back? How is it, a microcosm of the whole nation's journey? Well, today, Elsburg isn't its own separate municipality anymore. It's been absorbed into the giant Ekurhuleni metro. And because of that, it faces all the challenges of modern South Africa. We're talking about post-industrial transitions, huge demands for housing and transport, and of course, grappling with those deep, deep legacies of inequality left over from the past.
And that really gets us to the heart of it all. On one hand, the story is very specific, right? It's about Commandant Els and his farm for his soldiers. But on the other hand, it's totally emblematic. It's the story of gold, of war, of building a community from scratch and then getting swallowed up by a modern city. It really is the South African urban story, just in miniature.
So that leaves us with one final thought. Elsburg's incredible story was kind of hidden in plain sight this whole time. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What kind of hidden histories, stories of war, community, and massive change are just waiting to be discovered right in your own hometown?